Let's dive in. Today, we're going to crack open the brain of your warehouse, SAP's Extended Warehouse Management, or EWM. We're going to demystify that crucial piece of logic that decides where every single item goes the second it hits your receiving dock. Let's get to it. So picture this. A truck backs up to the dock, packed with hundreds, maybe thousands of different items. The doors roll up, and boom, the clock is ticking. The big question is, where does all of that stuff go? And this isn't just about finding any old empty shelf. It's a massive puzzle of efficiency, space, and logic that your warehouse has to solve perfectly every single day.
So, here's our game plan for solving that puzzle. First, we'll open up the EWM strategy toolbox. Then, we'll get into the real workhorses, the rules for your standard racking. After that, we'll check out some specialized strategies for things like bulk and pallet storage, and we'll wrap up with a few advanced niche rules.
Okay, so let's pop open that toolbox. I want you to think of these EWM strategies as a powerful set of tools that give you, the user, precise control over your entire put-away operation. This is really where the system's smarts kick in.
So what is a put-away strategy at its core? It's really simple. It's just the set of rules the system follows. Its one and only job is to look at a product coming in and automatically figure out the absolute best place to store it, all based on the rules that you've set up. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Think of it like this. Storage behavior is like telling your GPS you're looking for a gas station versus a restaurant. It defines the type of place you need. The put-away rule then becomes the specific instruction. Park in the first empty spot you find, or find a spot next to another car. If you can master these two settings, these two levers, you've basically mastered the foundation of EWM put-away. All right, let's move on to our first set of tools. These are the ones you're going to see and use all the time, the everyday workhorses for your typical warehouse shelves and racks.
So, let's kick things off with a classic warehouse scenario. You've got some really fast-moving items, and for picking efficiency, you need them to go to the exact same dedicated spot every single time. No exceptions. So how do you tell the system to do that? Well, you use the fixed storage bin strategy. It's exactly what it sounds like. It creates a permanent, direct link between a product and its home bin. The system's logic is super simple. It just checks the product's master data, finds its assigned bin, and sends it there. Done.
Now, making this work is pretty straightforward. In the configuration, you just set an indicator to use fixed bins. But, and this is the important part, the real work happens in the product master data. That's where you actually build that permanent connection, telling the system, this product belongs in this specific bin. Okay, next up. Let's say your goal is the total opposite. You're not looking for a new home, you're trying to maximize every square inch of space you have. When a product comes in, your number one priority is to find a bin that already has that same item in it and just top it off. For that job, you use the addition to existing stock strategy. The system's first move is to scan for a bin that's partially filled with the exact same product. If it finds one with enough room, perfect. It consolidates the stock right there. Only if that search comes up empty will it then go looking for a completely empty bin. This slide really breaks down the difference between those two core logics. Addition to stock is all about consolidation. It's fantastic for saving space, but, and this is a big one, it can mess with your first in, first out, or FIFO principle. That's a huge deal if you're dealing with anything that expires. On the flip side, the empty bin strategy is simple and clean. Find the next open spot, period. It's perfect for random storage, like in a big high rack area, and it naturally keeps your FIFO process intact. All right, we've covered the standard stuff. Now let's look at strategies for the less conventional parts of your warehouse. Because let's face it, not everything fits neatly on a shelf. Sometimes you're dealing with wide open floor space, or weirdly shaped racks that need their own special logic. I want you to imagine a big open area in your warehouse. No racks, just lines painted on the floor. You need to store huge quantities of the same thing, like barrels of liquid or big crates of soda, stacked right on top of each other. How in the world does EWM handle that? It uses what's called the bulk storage strategy. This was designed specifically for these open floor areas. The system starts thinking of the space in terms of blocks and rows, and it treats an entire row as one single giant storage bin that can hold multiple pallets or containers, what the system calls handling units, or HUs. So the key here is how it operates. The space is divided up.
Each row acts as one bin, and you usually only allow one product per row, just to keep things clean. But it also has this really clever feature to help with FIFO. As soon as you pick the first item from a row, the system can automatically block that row from getting any new stock, which forces you to empty it out completely before you start filling it again. The secret sauce in the configuration is changing that storage behavior to bulk storage. You're essentially flipping a switch that tells EWM to stop thinking about individual shelves and start thinking in terms of blocks, rows, and stacks. You also have to use handling units because the system is tracking stacks of pallets, not individual loose items. Okay, here's another fun puzzle for you. You've got one of those big storage bins way up on a high rack. And you know from experience that you could squeeze 3 small Euro pallets in there, or you could fit 2 larger industrial pallets in that exact same space. How do you get the system to manage that kind of flexibility on the fly? The answer is the pallet storage strategy, and it's actually pretty slick. When that first pallet shows up, the system looks at its size, its HU type, and it looks at the bin, and it does the math. It says, aha, based on this Euro pallet, I can fit a total of 3 of these in this space. Then it dynamically creates virtual subbins, bin /1, /2, and /3. These subbins only exist as long as they're pallets in the main bin. The second the last one leaves, poof, they vanish. And this just highlights how critical the configuration is. You set the storage behavior to pallet storage, and then, this is the most important part, you have to activate the HU type check. This is like telling the system to actually look at the size and shape of each pallet before it tries to store it. Without that check, it has no idea how many will fit. It's the key that unlocks the whole dynamic process. All right, let's wrap up by touching on one of the more advanced strategies. This isn't something you'd use all over your warehouse, but for one very specific challenge, it is incredibly powerful. And that is the near fixed picking bin strategy. Its entire reason for existing is to make replenishment faster. When you put away reserve stock, the system doesn't just find any empty bin. It actively searches for an empty bin that is physically as close as possible to that product's main picking spot. This just slashes travel time for your internal warehouse moves later on. And what does that mean? Faster replenishment and a more efficient operation overall. So as you can see, the real power of EWM isn't just in one of these single strategies. It's in the flexibility you have to combine them. You can have fixed bins for your fast movers, pallet storage way up in your high racks, and bulk storage down on the floor, all working together in harmony. The right combination is what turns your physical warehouse into this super efficient, logical, and automated system. And that really brings us to the final thought. Now that you've had a peek inside the EWM strategy toolbox, I want you to think about your own warehouse, your own operations. Which one of these tools, or maybe what combination of them, could be the key to solving your single biggest warehouse bottleneck? Have you ever thought about how